Before we begin, there is a small content warning on this video for a brief mention of drugs in the context of candy history. If you want to skip that section, it is between the time codes listed on the screen. Hello beadlings, welcome back. It's a bonus video. Normally I only post one video per month on the last Saturday of the month, and it's a tutorial, but since I've been getting like a bunch of new subscribers here, and I hit 10K on Instagram, and I kind of just wanted to see if I can handle the load of doing a second video per month. We're gonna try it out. So here's some frequently asked candy questions. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Kandi's World. They're an online retailer. They also go to a lot of festivals live, and they sell pony beads, they sell perler beads, they sell specialty beads. They sent me a giant box full of perlers and pony beads and specialty beads. I'm super excited to start using them. I actually used some of their perler beads on this shield because I was running out of colors. And so I needed some colors to fill this in. I'm really happy with how it came out. They melted really nicely. I'm really excited to use their pony beads in the tutorial for this month. It's a company founded by candy kids for people who want a really easy way to get a hold of candy supplies and candy. So definitely check them out. I will put a link in the description below. And they're also based in Canada. So I know a lot of like Canadian candy kids have trouble getting supplies. I assume that the shipping to Canada from Canada would be much better than the shipping from the US to Canada, because yikes, I've had to ship to Canada before and it's awful. On to the questions. So question number one is, what is candy? That's a really easy question to answer. Candy is this stuff. It's the jewelry made out of little plastic beads. See? Little plastic beads and stretchy cord. That people wear at raves. They also wear them as part of like decora fashion, scene fashion, kidcore, clowncore, general like alternative fashion. It was really, really popular about like 10-15 years ago, and it's regaining popularity currently, which is great for me because I love it. I love making candy. I love learning new ways to make candy, new stitches, and so I'm really excited that it's back. What is the history of candy? Candy actually originated in like the late 80s, early 90s. It was a way for people to tell who had drugs. That's why it's called candy. Back at that time, drugs were called candy. You eat candy, right? That's the slang name for it. However, they changed the spelling of it with the K and the I to indicate that like, this is not the kind of candy that you put in your mouth. It's the kind of candy that you put on your wrist. So at that time, it was what drug dealers were so that people could identify like where they could get drugs. It was part of the rave scene. However, everybody loved it. Like, it was super cute, super pretty, very stylish. People could trade it. It just exploded in popularity. And very rapidly, it no longer had any associations with drugs because everybody was wearing it. People who were sober were wearing it. It just became a part of fashion. So that is the history of candy. There's no one person who started it. There's no one account of this is the rave scene that it came from. This is the specific like producer that it came from or promoter that it came from. It's just sort of like generally a thing that sprung up in a lot of places at the same time, as things sometimes do. How do you trade candy? That's really easy. If you're in person trading with somebody, say, here's the piece of candy that you're trading, there's a secret handshake. It's called the PLUR handshake. You do this, here's the other person, and here's you. You touch fingers, so it's peace. It's a little peace sign. Peace, love, unity, and respect. I've also seen some people do it unity and respect, or unity and respect, and then on respect you pull the candy over, but either way you end up holding hands, and you just pull the candy up over your clasped hands onto the other person's wrist. If you're trading a necklace, you do the same thing, but you touch foreheads. It's very cute. It's also a really good way to get candy tangled in your hair, so be careful. What is PLUR? PLUR is peace, love, unity, and respect. Sometimes it's also with 2 R's, and the second R stands for responsibility. That's a raver code of conduct. We are a self-policing group. We internally handle our own shit, and if everybody follows that code of conduct, then it really minimizes any sort of like problems within the community. It's something that I strive to emulate just in my everyday life. That is something that I really want people, ravers and non-ravers, just everybody to really think with. Peace, love, unity, respect, and responsibility. how do I get into candy? I think that really is two questions. One is, how do I start making candy? Where do I learn? Where do I get supplies? I get most of my supplies from Bead Tin. You can see I have a bag right here, beadtin.com. I literally just got a coupon code for Bead Tin yesterday, so if you want to save 10%, it is Mood Candy. You can also get it from Michael's, Joann's, Walmart, most craft stores. You just want to look for the beads that look like this. Pony beads. These are 9mm. That's the standard size. That's what you'll find pretty much everywhere. And you want to get stretch cord. So I like cloth covered stretch cord. See there, it's cloth covered. You can also get clear stretch cord. I get all my string from Amazon. You can get it at craft stores. All you're really looking for is something that is a bit stretchy and small enough to go through beads. As for where to learn, I learned a lot of my stuff from YouTube tutorials. I also made friends with other candy kids and learned from them. I post tutorials on my channel. I also have a bunch of recommended channels. If you go to my little community tab, some of my friends also make candy content. They make candy tutorials, and I put their channels there so that you have access to all the resources that I have access to, and you can learn and grow. The other part of the question is, how do I get involved with the candy community? How do I make friends? So a lot of my audience, I think, are younger than I am. I'm 30. I just turned 30 in May.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
And so the way that I made friends and the way that I make candy friends is by going to raves and by connecting with other candy kids on Instagram. Go through just the hashtag, candy tag, see who's posting a bunch of candy stuff, follow them, interact. I spend a lot of quarantine trading PLUR packages, which is like little personalized, candy, gift boxes? What's the word I'm looking for? Care packages. It's like a care package, but with candy. So I spent a lot of quarantine. I spent about 6 months just trading packages with people all over America, a couple of people in Canada too, although international shipping is awful and I hate it. So, I did that. That's how I found people to trade with online. This was during quarantine, so there weren't raves. There wasn't like a way to meet people in real life and make friends that way. And so that was what I did in that instance. I imagine that you could probably do a similar thing now. Although, if you're underage, get parental consent or guardian consent before reaching out to internet strangers. But there is a huge resurgence in candy's popularity. And I know that there are people on TikTok, there are people on Instagram who are making candy and posting it. So I would say that is probably a really good way to make some candy friends. While editing this video, I realized that this sounds like I'm telling you to give personal information to strangers online. Don't do that. If you are going to trade PLUR packages with somebody, make sure that it's somebody you trust. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm very shy. I probably don't come across that way. Maybe I do, but I have trouble making friends in real life. Most of my friends are people that I have met online first and then traveled to see or met up with in real life, or, internet friends are a lot easier than real life friends. So I don't have great advice necessarily, other than if you enjoy making candy and it is something that brings you joy and you want to meet other people who also get joy from making candy, be active online, be active, in the TikTok candy hashtag, in the Instagram candy hashtag. I definitely know people have met in some of my comment sections before and become friends that way. Friendship is very strange and it just sort of seems to happen to people. So if you have things that have worked for you, leave them in the comments below. Maybe you'll help somebody else, because I'm not great at it. Can I make candy if I don't go to raves? Absolutely. Anybody can make candy. You are totally allowed to make whatever you want, regardless of whether or not you enjoy going to raves, can go to raves, don't like raving. It's totally fine. The more the merrier. It is a very open and welcoming community. Where do you get your supplies, and or what type of string is the best? What type of beads are the best? So I'm going to give you some very specific opinions about beads and string here. This is 1.2mm cloth covered stretch cord. See how absolutely super stretchy that is? I love this. This is my favorite thing for making cuffs. 1.2mm cloth covered stretch cord. You can get 1 millimeter off of bead tin. You can get 1.2 millimeter off of Amazon. I think you can get these at craft stores also, but I always get mine from Amazon. Bead tin has very good rainbow stretch cord also. So if you don't want to get it from Amazon, you can't get it from Amazon, get it from bead tin. You also have clear stretch cord. I like to use 1 millimeter. I know some people like to use 0.8 millimeters. I would not go anywhere lower beyond 0.8 millimeters for anything because it will break. As for beads, I like Bead Tin brand. That's the Beadery brand. Bead Tin sells it. You can also get the Beadery brand at like Walmart and I think Michael's. Those are my favorites. Those are the ones that I like. However, you can also get beads from candiesworld.com. Pretty decent selection. You can get, I think it's like Creatology brand or something like that from Michael's. And I know Hobby Lobby has their own brand as well. I don't like the ones from Michael's. I don't like the ones from Hobby Lobby. Here's a very specific opinion about beads. Let's see how well you can see. Come on, focus. Focus on the bead. So see how those edges are kind of rounded? I don't think it's going to focus, but you can see it's kind of a soft edge, right? It's not, there's no hard corners. It's not sharp. It's very smooth, and I like that in a bead. I think that's neat. The other brand of beads that I mentioned from like Hobby Lobby, from Walmart, like they have a flat edge and a little corner, and it bothers me. It really bothers me. It's not to say that they're bad beads. I just don't like them. That is my very specific opinion about something that really does not matter in the scheme of things. What I will say is if you're making a cuff, you do want to make sure that you use all the same brand of beads. Otherwise, you will end up with kind of a wiggly cuff because they're slightly different. They're like a millimeter off or half a millimeter off sometimes. And if you have a bunch of different beads that are not exactly the same size and you're trying to build something, like for example, you're trying to build a cuff, right? See how those sit all evenly exactly on top of each other? If they're different sizes, the cuff will come out a little wobbly. So you do want to pay attention to that. That is something important when you are thinking about creating stuff with beads. Another question that I get a lot is about selling. Sometimes the question is, how do I open up a candy shop? Sometimes the question is it okay for people to sell candy? I am going to address this very broadly here. I will make another video at some point about exactly what I did, exactly how I started my business, and what I do and why I do it like that. That is a different video. I will very briefly address this here. So I think it is totally okay to sell candy as long as you are not price gouging. Something that a lot of people have brought up as why they don't like candy sellers or why it's not okay is maybe 10, 15 years ago, Hot Topic and Spencer started selling candy singles like this for like $10 each. That's price gouging. That is insane. Don't do that. However, it does take a while to make candy. One of these bracelets did take me like 5 minutes to make. That is time. That is supplies. You do deserve some compensation for your work if you choose to sell. So there is something to balance there. The other thing that I would say about selling is if you are being asked by people to sell, if people are approaching you with, hey, can I buy this from you? Can I commission you to make this? You should open a shop. I would buy this and this and this. That is a really good indication that it's time to open a shop. If you just have a bunch of candy and you're like, I keep making all this stuff and like, I just want to try and sell it, maybe not a good idea. Just in terms of how easy or hard it is to get started selling. Don't sell a piece that somebody else gifted you. That is like a hard rule. If somebody gave you candy as a gift, don't sell it. Only sell stuff that you made yourself. That is probably common sense, but I'm just gonna put it out there. There are a lot of people there right now on Etsy, on Depop, various places that are just selling candy, and so it is a little bit of a saturated market right now. That's not to say that you shouldn't start selling or can't, but just know, like, there are a lot of people doing the same thing right now, and that does make it more difficult to get started. Where do you get inspiration from? Where do you get inspiration for colors? Where do you get inspiration for types of candy? How do you get through a candy block? I get this question a lot. There's a lot of answers to this. First of all, I follow a lot a lot of Kandi kids on Instagram. I am always on my phone. I am chronically online. So when I see one of them post something that I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I want to try that. Oh, like that's neat. That like makes my brain go bzzz. I'll just save the post. I'll be like, doop, saved. We're gonna try this later. This is a good idea. And then I just go back to my saved posts. Like that's a lot of the inspiration that I get for Kandi. In terms of colors, there's a bunch of different like places online that you can go to like do color picker stuff, and it'll like, you know, auto generate things for you, like these colors go together, like this would be a cool like interior design color palette, and I'll just like take that and be like, ah yes, let's use this and this and this. Characters from media, like whatever my current special interest is, whatever my current like comfort show is, or comfort music, whether it's EDM or not, I will make a lot of stuff for those artists, those TV shows, those movies, things that are inspired by them. Obviously, like perler beads, it's a lot easier to make specific patterns and shapes and stuff, but you know, you can also do that with cuffs. I will show you. Like, for example, you know, this is a Spider-Man cuff, obviously. It's a different type of stitch, so it's gonna look a little different than perler beads. But either way, like whether you use perler beads or not, you can still do a lot of really neat designs, like character designs of specific media. Also, like if I'm going to a specific event or a specific show, I will make Kandi that matches my outfit or matches the artist that I'm seeing or matches my hair or whatever. Or I'll make it like specific things to give away. If I'm like, I want to see the stranger's face when I give them a piece of candy that has a fake fish on it and says ham bag. Like truly just thinking about, oh my God, it's going to be so funny when I give this candy to somebody. Like that's half my singles. Half the candy singles I give away at shows, half the singles that I make is just like, sometimes I just make candy that I think is funny. A lot of my candy is just like shitposting. At my core, I am a shitposter. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I answered some of your burning questions. If you have a major question that was not answered, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I will try to do, you know, these types of videos where I answer questions, talk about rave culture, talk about Kandi culture, and just give, you know, a little bit more information and backstory and everything else, in addition to continuing the monthly tutorials. If you enjoyed this, if this was helpful, if you would like to, you know, see more of this and help support the channel, Patreon is linked below, Etsy is linked below, all my socials are below. Have at it. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. PLUR.